Hey guys, I'm really excited about this episode today. We're going to be talking about sexual kung fu, also known as sexercise, and why you should be doing it, as well as the roots and a little bit of information about what it's actually like, what you can expect. So, buckle your seatbelts and let's go.
Yay, we're back. Hi, Coco.
Hello, namaste.
Namaste, sweetheart. My husband is going to be joining us as well because he has important news he wants to share. But before we get started, I think it's time that we let our viewers know that we came up with a name for our adventure. So since it's been called a podcast, several people, I think we're just gonna say, all right, fine, it's a podcast. And the name is Off the Mat with.
Gayru and Coco,
Yay!
talking
Technically, it's
podcast.
off the mat with Coco and Gayru.
Oh, with Coco and Gayru. Okay.
Yes. All right. So yeah, and we'll come up with something. But yeah, so that's what it is. Officially, it is a Men of Yoga Off the Mat with Coco and Gabriel. Yay!
Where we give you all the inside scoops and details and chatter and information that we don't give you in yoga class.
Yep, exactly. And sometimes we are undressed.
Occasionally.
Yeah. There we go. So Aaron, do you want to go to take the microphone and share your story?
Share my story.
Share your announcement?
I'm back. I just dropped my phone.
Oh no, hopefully not in a cup of tea.
Hold on.
I just got my microphone back. Well, it's not the same one, but this is the replacement mic for the one that I dropped in my tea. So
That's
I'm
right.
still very sensitive to that whole possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm back. It's episode 5 now. So it was way long time ago in episode 4 when I joined. Yeah. So as of yesterday, your podcast, Men of Yoga, Off the Mat with Coco and Gayru, is now available on Spotify and a couple different platforms. We've go ahead and put you guys on the map and branded you Men of Yoga, and you can find all those beautiful resources are now at your fingertips, wherever platforms that you listen to your podcasts on. So
Yay.
Thank
Wow.
you so much for helping us.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. I can't wait to see what Pepe's gonna do for us. I'm just kidding. Oh,
Only time will
Pepe.
tell. No,
Like,
I have already used up as much of his admin energy as I possibly can. So
that's amazing.
let's not
Wow.
strain the relationship anymore.
Yeah. Well, this is episode 5, yay 5.0. So you were saying that you just got done teaching sex kung fu.
Yes, I did.
I don't think we've talked about that. Like I know that people know us as yoga teachers. Now, sex kung fu also yoga or yoga based?
Not actually. So the class is a fusion of two different worlds. Sex Fu is from ancient China, from Taoist traditions, and yoga is yoga from India. So I sometimes articulate and explain that, and sometimes I don't. Just depends on how like intellectual I'm feeling that day or how much I feel like the students might want to know. But yeah, so we do yoga first, which really helps to get you in your body and warm and activate the muscles and get you breathing. So it's a perfect, and it's also I teach for a yoga studio, so it's only appropriate to root the practice of sex fu in yoga. That's what we do. So then at a certain point, after about 30 minutes of yoga and breath work, we transition into the sexual kung fu practice, and it's really just like a beginner level sex fu practice because it can get really advanced, and most people are just not prepared, and including myself. I'm a beginner in sex fu also, not prepared to take it that far. And most Westerners, most guys interested in sex fu really only benefit and only are interested in kind of like the foundational principles of it that make you that just really enhance your experience of solo sex
Mm.
and transform your practice of jerking off into something way deeper and way more satisfying that involves, you know, paying mindfulness of breath and your whole body, and like working with shamelessness and fearlessness, and learning to that this can be a communal experience instead of something that you shamefully do by yourself real quick to get it over with. Some guys ejaculate and some don't. Ejaculation is not part of sex food. I make that really clear, but I may also make guys feel comfortable, you know, like if you want to, you can, it's up to you. But that's not the point. That's not what we're getting together to do. Because at the root, like, you know, in really serious sex food, they don't ejaculate. They do like long-term semen retention, and the practices help them to, you know, circulate all that chi and keep it in their system and become immortal. Which I don't think anybody has achieved immortality, but it's about, you know, longevity, health, retaining the energy.
Now, is it a brand? Because I could have sworn I've seen other teachers, other instructors teach that modality, and so I wasn't clear if it's like a small community, down low community.
I only have the
You get certified as a teacher.
There is no certifying body that I know of for sexual kung fu, but I have this book called The Multi-Orgasmic Man, which just it's really all about like sex from an energetic standpoint and how it works, and semen retention, chi, you know, like the why and the roots of all of this. And so yeah, it's kind of like, it's not, you know, it's obviously way more niche than yoga, but it's exploding into popularity, and mostly men, as far as I know, are learning about this. But in ancient China, it was men and women. They were both practicing equally.
Yeah, I want to say, go ahead, sorry, finish.
And it was very much more like a spiritual path, you know, like of people living a really specific life. But in the more modern context, we're mostly using it in a more, I don't want to say shallow way, but in a more intro level kind of way to get better at sex. It's like Sexercise. It's like sexual exercise and staying sexually fit. So getting some of the more like surface level benefits of it.
That's fantastic. I want to say that it is a studio in WeHo that hosts and leads that class. I might be wrong, but I could have I looked at their site, and one instructor offered it.
Naked Warrior Yoga.
Yeah, I want to say that's I saw a teacher that had on their bio that's what they taught.
Oh yeah, that's me. I teach that through.
Is that you?
Well, there could be other teachers teaching it now, but yeah, I teach the class that I just taught, and the class I'm talking about is under the umbrella of Naked Warrior Yoga.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Yeah.
I was reading an article, and it was talking about how for hormonal balance, you're supposed to take your age -7 and divide by 2, and that's how often you should be ejaculating.
Let me check that. I'm not good at math in my head. How I'm doing in that.
So I'm 50, 43 divided by 2 is like every 20 days. Or no, sorry. Yeah. 21. Something like that. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've been
-7 and divide by 2.
I've been looking into that because I've had an injury for the last 2 months. I gave myself a friction burn on my penis, and it turned into a bacterial infection. And so I haven't ejaculated in 7 weeks.
Oh my God, that's extreme.
And never in my adult life have I gone this long without coming. And so it's been interesting I've pushed past like my primal desires, and it's like I'm hyper focused on things, and like the productivity with which I do a project is really high right now. And so I was wondering, like, is this healthy? What is the standard? Because it's not a something that I've explored in my adult life. And so
Well,
it's
that's
been,
cool. Yeah, I mean, like the thought behind all of this is that every time you ejaculate, you lose a lot of chi,
yeah,
and it ultimately shortens your life if you're just exhausting yourself by ejaculating excessively all the time. And for some dudes, that's like 6 times a day. You know, if they're just like jerking off and looking at porn, they have no idea that it's not good to do that. And they have no idea how much it's exhausting and depleting them. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have guys practicing semen retention, whether it's on purpose or not on purpose, like you. And but the practices of sex foo allow you to make that a healthy practice where you're not getting blue balls, you're not getting frustrated, you're not getting angry, and you're also not sacrificing pleasure because you're still pleasuring yourself, but you're learning how to control ejaculation. And actually in sex food, like with the, like you have to practice, you got to train yourself to be able to do this. It's not intuitive for most guys, but you can have orgasms without ejaculating. They're not the same thing, but most of us don't realize that because they happen simultaneously pretty much, and that's just all we know. But with sex food, you can learn to control ejaculation and still orgasm. And if you do that, if you learn that, you can orgasm multiple times, like as many times as you
Mhm.
want, given how much time do you have. And but whereas if you just jerk off and ejaculate, then you're pretty much done. But I would say that it can be really I think it can be really healthy to and those benefits you're experiencing, that's what people describe with long-term retention.
Yeah. I also like the idea of it like practicing so that you can learn how to be in charge of when,
Mhm.
how you're going to ejaculate, right? Because at some point, people also have in their head, like the pleasure itself is not pleasurable enough, and it's like they have to like get to the finish line instead of like being in the moment and getting in the zone, you know.
Right.
And because some people maybe because they don't have enough practice, and maybe it's because when they have intercourse they get so turned on by their partner that they forget, like, use that practice, like get into your own body, be
Hmm.
in charge of your pleasure zones and back off whenever you need to, you know and or you could also say like it's lunchtime. We
Yeah, we
got
gotta go.
we
So
gotta go. We gotta get this going. But I'm sure in both cases, like technique is always super helpful.
hmm
So that you have like tools under your belt, no pun intended, so that you can pick and choose like which pattern or modality I'm going to practice today. You know,
Right. Totally.
am I laying down? Am I standing up? Like I need to join this class.
You should try it.
Can you
Yeah,
imagine?
I'm noticing that too, as like, I get feedback from different guys, and sometimes they'll be like, sometimes I don't think I'm used to teaching it now, so and sometimes I don't think it was a very interesting class or whatever. And then they'll be like, I've never masturbated standing up before. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is such an interesting class for some people, like they've never like had any nuance or variation in there and how they do that. And
Interesting.
what is
but
the tenets of the class? Like you mentioned that there are tenets.
like,
What are they?
like what is it like?
Yeah, what is the experience? I don't know. I'm not familiar with what you're talking about. So
Okay. So first, like the first step of sex food after yoga, we do 3 minutes of what we call somatic shaking and bouncing. And the idea is, like on an energetic level, you're shaking stuck emotions out of your system. And so I always think about like on a cellular level, but I'm also using my hands, and we'll chant together like, I am fearless, I am shameless, I am doubtless. So we're like getting these feelings around sexuality out of our system. Also, you're physically, go ahead.
that's a really good way to move your lymphatic system too.
Yes, a lot of benefits. And also like just getting blood flowing to your dick. And also like when a bunch of guys get together and swing their cocks and balls around together, it's just exciting. It's erotic. And there's this sense of camaraderie where it's like, we're doing this. And like, I support you being fearless and shameless and doubtless. And I see you, and it's cool. And then we come up to the level of the heart, and we focus on like cleansing self-criticism out, breathing joy in, and then we clear out the mind, the head, the mental space. And then we start doing, sometimes tapping is involved, and
Mhm.
then different forms of stroking. um, and they're different exercises, they come from the sex food roots. about like, increasing how much blood your penis can hold, increasing how much sensation you can feel, like you can contain, and self-pleasuring, like turning yourself on, getting yourself excited.
Mhm.
And then we do the big draw. So we do basically 3 sets of Sexercises. And after each set, there's a big draw, which is where you gather this, maybe you're like getting close to orgasm, but we don't. And then you gather the energy, you pull in a big breath, and then you squeeze that energy up the spine. And so instead of like, that's ejaculation energy just flooding out of your body, we pull it up and in. And so it has like a very like caffeinating kind of effect. It's like very powerful. And then there's just like, there's like a little bit of play and showing off and arousing each other in between the sets. And then after we've done 3 sets of that and we've made it up to 3 big draws, then I give them like a couple minutes of free play where it's like, you can do whatever you want now. Like if you need to ejaculate today, this is your chance. Go for it. If you just want to practice the techniques that we've already been doing, cool. If you're like overwhelmed and over this and you don't want to, like you go to the back of your room and meditate for a couple minutes, whatever you need to do. So it's kind of chaotic. But then I bring people back together, and there's a very important part of like grounding yourself again after this, because we've sent a lot of energy up to the brain. There's a lot of like primal and hormonal stuff going on. And so we come back to like, okay, whatever happened, whether you ejaculated or you didn't, or whatever happened, we're going to come back together now with like calming breath techniques and eventually go into Shavasana. So then we finish on the same page, and it turns out to be just like a super cool experience.
Is there like friendly what is it? A friendly best screen practices where everybody's required to keep their camera on so that everybody's engaged, like no oglers, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. If anybody's being weird, or I sense that they're just being creepy, or like I can only see like their face, or they
Right.
turn their screen off, they have got to go, because like it's really important that everybody is engaging, participating in the right way.
Yeah.
And
Now, is there also clothing optional in terms of like somebody wearing a jock strap because they don't like their balls flinging around? Because I know some people who are ball sensitive.
oh yeah, during that part of the practice, that's okay. But I don't, yeah, I have had a guy show up in his shorts before. I try to be sensitive to that, but at the same time, there's a certain point when it's like those need to come off now. Like we all need to be on the same level of vulnerability here.
After the
Um,
shake, maybe after the shake portion.
right.
That makes sense. Okay, see, there you go. I'm there. Okay, give me some
Mhm.
options to like make sure I'm practicing safe exercise.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Can I just go back to the sound effects that you made when you were like saying people are going to ejaculate or keep it up? We'll make that sound effect again if they ejaculate. You went. Because I was thinking, yeah, if mine made sound effects, it'll go pew 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 pew.
Or yeah, there's
Or
different ones.
sometimes it goes glop. Sorry, sorry.
Well, truly, like if you think about it in a very literal way, and most people just like haven't thought about it that much, or it's like ejaculation, yeah, the energy goes out and down. That's like in yoga we call that like apana. And
Yeah,
that's why you practice mula bandha. It's to like gather and contain that energy from escaping downward.
yeah,
And when you're still feeling a lot of pleasure, but then when you're right at that point of like, I'm about to lose control, instead of shooting the energy out and down, you're learning to suction that energy up and in so you can keep it. And so
yeah.
you can have like orgasms in other parts of your body, even, or like your brain might feel it in a different way, but it's like a lightning bolt to the brain of like, like, so when you get done with sex foo, you're going to feel very charged and very awake. And that's why at the end, it's really important to do the grounding practices so that you can leave feeling like energized, but not insane.
Yeah. Do you have any of your sex food content, like any short tutorials or any samples that's available online already?
I do have a library, and
Yeah.
there are several classes that involve that in the library.
Do you showcase any of it on OnlyFans?
Yeah, I do a little bit on OnlyFans. I have found that, my OnlyFans fans do not want to learn or do practices. They are there for entertainment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, send them over to Men of Yoga. That's what we do.
Okay.
Naked stuff. So, get people to like say, here's what that looks like.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
I
also
was
go ahead, Aaron.
I was listening to this person talk. I can't think of who it was off the top of my head, but they were talking about how as energy rises through the chakras into the heart center, um, your higher level functions start from the heart up. And your need-based functions are from the heart chakra down. And so like your solar plexus, your hunger, your sexual needs, and getting more satisfaction from life is to move your energy up towards your heart chakra so that you can embrace love as it moves into your voice, as it moves into your intuition and into your spiritual practices. And so having practices in your life that move energy up, blocking the bandhas, what you're talking about is really, chakra energy and how you live a more vibrant self.
Totally, yeah. And like, life without sex, like I don't know how many people would how deny this or versus admit it, but like sex brings the spice and excitement to life. Like it is at least subtly like a motivator in almost everything that we do. Like, am I attracted to this or am I not? Or am I drawn towards this or am I not? And on a very subtle, abstract level, that's kind of sexual. But like bringing the spice of an excitement in to your practice and then like pushing it and moving that powerful energy up through all the other chakras, it changes flavors as it goes so that it's, like down here, when there's a bunch of energy down here in the sexual level, it's literally sexual. But if you're able to move it up so there's not like an excess of horny energy down here, then yeah, you have a lot of energy to push into the upper creative centers for more love and compassion, for more creative expression, for more imagination, for more ideas. It's
Yeah.
but if you're not doing that, then you don't have a lot of energy to move. You just kind of get stagnant.
Yeah. In a physical sense too, like just listening to both of you talk about it, there is this sense of like, there's the getting off piece and then there's the sensuality piece. There's the intimacy piece. There's the sensory piece where you get to actually smell, enjoy, visualize, and like really be in the moment instead of just kind of going through the process, and I love that because you then you start exploring your creativity of like different positioning and different different sets, different positions, whatever, and yeah, I think that's amazing that that's also like part of the journey.
We were talking yesterday about the podcast and making it available on Spotify and going through the process of creativity. And one of the things William and I've been tripping out on is that like whenever we pick up a new project, it's a culmination. It's not just about this podcast. It's all of the previous projects that have led to this moment that have inspired us to, oh, this thing is happening organically. And like, well, let's do this, this, and this. And, a day later, it's available on all platforms. It's, like we're having, our store is available with our merchandise, and collaboration then becomes, like all of a sudden collaboration and finding other beings of light, to express with. And, when I was your age, Coco, I was just looking to get off, and inspiration for life and vibrancy and my own vibration, was not on my mindset. I think with age and intention comes, finding this satisfaction from life, that being of service obviously is a big component, but also like finding inspiration and using your energy in more creative ways.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. And like even outside of the context of sex fu, like in yoga, we as yoga teachers, we often talk about how like for most people, like the Kundalini energy like hardly ever really makes it past the second chakra because we leak it out and we don't know how to contain it. Or on the other hand, because of religion and morality and all that bullshit, we're like sexually shut down and frozen and like energy can't pass higher than that because of that. So it's either too open or it's too closed for most people. There's a lack of understanding, and yeah, there's just a lack of understanding about it. And if we keep it in secret and keep it in the dark and keep it in the taboo realm, then people are not becoming masters of their sexual energy or of their life force energy
Not
and
just
not
sexual
reaching their
energy.
full potential.
No, not just sexual energy, your vibrancy.
Yes, your life force energy.
Mhm. It's all about finding inspiration.
Yeah. Also collaborating with others. Just I've been experiencing huge bursts of creativity and excitement. Honestly, just from teaming up with you guys in a more serious way, because it helps. You have different minds coming in, you have different skills coming in, and it's just you feel more supported.
Yeah. There's this, I mean, since the get-go too, is like being gay in this space, right? Let me back up a little bit. Being a guy, being a guy in this space is so interesting because a lot of, so I'm gonna put my thought with in mind the Kevin Spacey documentary. We just saw it last night, and I don't know if you're familiar with that scandal. He basically
Me
he
too. Yeah.
yeah, he basically sexually assaulted men. Uh, Most of them were adults, but he did have his alleged run in high school with other guys. And the pattern stayed pretty consistent all the way through his adulthood, all the way till he became a two-time Oscar-winning actor. So he's a very powerful guy. And I find it fascinating, awesome, and also unfortunate that all the stories that were told by these men uh, who happened to come across his path had similar stories on how he made his moves. And unfortunately for me, I realized that a lot of this sex related crimes is because men aren't conditioned, or they don't have a practice to deal with that power that, as when we get older as boys, it's like there's something about us that needs to come out. And that's why guys, they discover masturbation. It's like, holy fuck, there's this. And I remember this as a kid. It's like, what do I do with this energy? And it's so confusing. If only, this might sound weird, but if only somebody taught me how to masturbate at an early age, not just say, oh, it's okay, or it happens. It's like, what happens, bitch? Or how is it supposed to happen? Like, I don't understand. Like, if lubricant was introduced to you at an early age, you know what I'm saying? It's like to normalize the process, and so that you don't bring that shit to work. At the end of the day, I truly believe that that's what happens. Guys get frustrated, unlike women. Women don't get frustrated the same way guys can, because guys will get aggressive and they'll turn violent, or they feel that it's a masculine thing to do, is to take power over something or someone. And it's unhealthy and it's unfortunate. So just watching people do, like brotherhood work and men's work and sex kung fu, we all come from it from a different angle. But I think the key thing that's missing is like teaching younger men of like how to deal with that power. They don't understand what that power is, that raw energy, you know? And so I don't know, Coco, I would like probably encourage you to say, all right, let's have that conversation a little bit more as well, because at the end of the day, there's one thing to be physical about it, but there's mental, maybe even something traumatic that's happened before that people aren't just discussing or having a conversation with, or a conversation about. And so I would hope that you and I continue engaging these conversations, that it would spark some interest in in the viewers and listeners saying, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I was like that when I was 12, 13, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, I've thought about this before, and like the ancient Taoist people seems like I'm not an expert by any means. I've just read this one book, Multi-Orgasmic Man. I haven't studied the culture, so I don't know. But my mind as I was reading it was like, wow, this must have been a very much more sex positive culture, and men probably did teach their kids um, more about it.
Yeah.
And that's where it has to happen, because I thought about that too. It's like, there's so much legality issues and red tape around like men teaching boys how to do this, unless it's in your family and done in a very non-abusive, like genuine kind of way. So to some extent, I feel like young guys have to like have that period of kind of figuring it out on their own to some extent, or asking, being the kind of parent, that is approachable about that kind of questions would be really great. So like if your son comes to you and asks you questions, you can actually have a real conversation about it.
Yeah.
So that's, I feel like that's my work, and that's my lane. So that's me staying in my lane, is like educating adult men so that hopefully they can be that kind of parent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Or
being responsible with the energy that you've been given, not using it as a platform to suppress or hurt others,
yeah,
but having a productive process that leads to your highest vibration.
Mhm.
Brotherhood goes to a really weird place when it goes to a very misogynist, trying to let men be men, and have a traditional woman, and it goes to some really weird places of men encouraging men to you know be this stereotypical masculine presence, and that didn't work out for hundreds of thousands of years, and there's a reason why society is migrating to a more sensitive platform, where we're aware of each other and see each other, and heal and lift rather than abuse and put down.
yeah, yeah, totally. Here in the US, we have like a really controversial, very popular case that's happening in New York City, and the crime is against a former president, and the star witness is a porn star, and it's so salacious, and I can't I can't understand, or I can't believe that half of the country is still kind of in denial about like whether it happened or not happened. It's cringy to even accept the fact that that's okay behavior. You know what I mean? And I'd like to think that because again, I think because men are not open to having these conversations or the dialogues early on, that it's suppressed. And you act out on it because it's a buildup, and you don't have the practices of how to engage and how to communicate. I love the idea of asking consent. When you see movies, there's always a part where the guy just grabs the girl by the hair, but by the head, and draw them in. It's a trip, but that's been the love story that's been told. And as a kid, I looked at it as they could have just said, "Is it okay if I kiss you?" Or "I'd like to kiss you." Like, let me in on it before you just kind of look me in the eye and then draw my face to your face. But that's so common. And so when kids see this growing up, it's like, oh, that must be the way it's done. And like most people who are stunned by that activity, they don't know how to say no. It's like it's too late now. Like I'm in an awkward position, and that's why every time we have these conversations, I just feel like there's an opportunity there to like really explore the conversations and the types of ways that you can move your chi around, because it is an anatomical um, topic to discuss. On one level, yes, these are like the benefits of it, but also digging deep, it's like that's how the body is designed. And that's how the male form is designed. It is designed to get erections. It is designed
Mhm.
to ejaculate. It is designed to do those things, but you also have to make that a practice, because if you don't, it's going to take over you in some shape or form, and it's going to manifest in a way that's probably not going to be comfortable.
Testosterone
Totally.
is aggressive.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, it's just bottom line basics, like that, and that's true. I read a book once that I recommend to everybody. It's not like a self-help book. It's not a super sensitive, emotional, woke kind of book. It's called Sex at Dawn, and it's just helping you to get real about our evolutionary past as extremely sexual apes, and how men have evolved to spray the seed far and wide. It's just like this, it's not really biologically where we're at anymore, but we still have that programming unconsciously that we need to fuck a lot of beings and impregnate and spread have babies. That's what part of what drove our species to be to dominate the planet. And then the female has generally evolved to be more selective and protective of the children and her resources provided by the hunter-gatherer men. And so in today's world, we're different, and we're not just in the binary anymore. And so anybody who's listening to this who thinks that I'm like stuck in the binary, no, I'm not. That's not what I'm trying to say. But there is a biological reality to like people with balls and testosterone versus people with uteruses and ovaries and estrogen. But so yeah, we're not there anymore where that's not how we're living anymore. We're very highly conscious now, and we have to learn how to deal with our biology.
Right.
And so it's like the fear and the stigma and the moralistic shit that makes sex so difficult and confusing for us. Whereas if you just remove all of that or try,
Yeah.
then you can actually learn how to function well with your body and your sex drive and your hormones and all of that.
Which brings us all back to yoga.
Yes.
Right. Isn't that without the practice and the learning of yoga, it's like you yourself probably would not have tapped into this other space without having that self-awareness to begin with, and like knowing about like your authentic true self and like what's calling to you, what's important to you, and your own human experience, and I kudos to you, man. That's what drew me to you to begin with. Like, who is this kid? I don't even think, were you 30 already when I met you? I think, no, I think you were
I think I was 30.
You were already 30, yeah. So anyway, and I was like looking at it, I'm like this, polished and so confident, like, the things that I wish everybody would experience early on in life, because they grow up with a little bit more self-esteem and a little bit more grounded and a little bit more able to practice a little more openness, because they know exactly who they are. So therefore they can allow others to also contribute to who they are already, as opposed to, not knowing, fearful, closed, narrow-minded, and, things that stop them from progress, and yeah, I think that the only way for us is to accept other people's views is to know and understand what our views are, and know that our views are also fed to us, upbringing, environment, our teachers, our religion, but we also want to remind ourselves, like, bro, there's people that are in Asia who have different practices, people, in Middle East who have different practices. I can't even wait to tell you about like some insights I've had about religion, Allah and Muhammad and all that, but that's another conversation that we're going to explore at some point. But all of those factors feed into like how you view your body and how you view sex. And I think, for me personally, I think yoga for me was like a mind-blowing opening, because it gave me permission to like say, hey, here are some concepts, here's some 8 limbs, and then you go in the 8 limbs and you're like, we practice non-attachment, giving me permission to say, hey, that was an old idea, I have a new idea. That's the way my dad taught me, and then this is the way Coco has taught me. Like, two can coexist in that same space.
Mm-hmm.
And for some, Coco is dad.
Well,
Coco is what?
dad.
A dad.
A dad, yeah.
You're not giving daddy vibes.
It's all about perspective, right?
Yes.
Everybody's looking at somebody.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. May I ask, what is your current demographic for your sex food classes?
They are mainly cis men. I would say anywhere between the ages of like 35 and 55. That's just a rough estimate. I'm really bad at guessing people's ages, but
Nice.
that's
Okay.
it. And most of the guys who come to my classes are gay, but there's kind of like a whole other group that I am aware of, just from being online that are more straight or less gay. And the vibe of their practice is a bit different. The book, the ancient Taoists called the practitioners of sex fu green jade dragons. That was like, a beginner level practitioner of sex fu, but I call my guys rainbow dragons because we're not practicing with women. We're practicing, by ourselves and with each other. So we've taken sex fu into the queer space, whereas the straight bros, it's different. It's not as erotic for them, and it's probably not as hard for them to not ejaculate as it is for us gay guys, because it's super hot for us.
Right.
So, I'm kind of taking the tradition as I am with yoga, and like, let's adapt this to a different kind of guy.
Yeah, totally.
Rainbows
The rain
and
bros.
rainbow dragons.
Yeah. And then so like the sex food classes are available to is it like by appointment, download membership? Like how does one engage and participate?
Well, with me, you can come to my class through Naked Warrior Yoga. It's in studio in WeHo, but also virtual, so you can do it from anywhere in the world.
Mhm.
And I do private sessions with guys a lot. It's a big part of. I just teach it the group class once a week, but if anybody wants deeper practice, more explanation, more, more, then we do it solo. And then I also have a video library that you can subscribe to that has various different versions of the practice in there.
Okay, we already announced your in-person dates.
Yeah.
Go for it. Go. Yeah, let's go.
Let's see, what are the dates? I finished my retreat on the 7th of July, and then I'll be in San Francisco with Aaron and Gayru from the 8th until like mid July. Like,
Yeah,
I think
like
I
the
leave on
18th,
like the
19th.
19th or something.
Yes.
And so you and me, Will, are gonna go to we're gonna go to WeHo
Mhm.
for like the first 2 days of that. For like the 9th through the 11th or something, we'll be in LA. I'm gonna teach sexual kung fu live in the Naked Warrior studio on my birthday. And then I'll be back in San Francisco with you guys after that.
Yeah. So folks, that is July 9th, his birthday and the in-person class. And that's 8 o'clock a.m. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in
So
California time.
yeah, California time, 9 a.m. and 11. Wait, on the 9th and 11th at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard, that's in person, WeHo Naked Warrior. Is this also going to be televised or do they record it as well? Do you
It
know?
won't be recorded, but it will be available virtual, so anybody can do it
Oh,
anywhere.
in real time.
Yeah, I'll be teaching in the studio, but there's also a camera, and it's
Okay.
it's broadcasted as well.
Amazing. Very
Yeah.
cool. Very cool.
So I'll literally be doing the same thing that I normally teach it from here.
Yeah.
It's all virtual, but I'll just be doing the same thing, but from the studio. So hopefully it's a chance for me to meet a lot of the guys that I've only known virtually in
Yeah.
real life. Hopefully I'll draw a crowd to the studio. I would love that. That'd be such a great birthday gift.
Amazing. Aaron, what about you? Do you have any announcements while I still have you on? Do you have any announcements? Anything you want to share with the folk?
Do I have any announcements? No, we're just doing day retreats for the next 4 months. Next month is our Pride retreat, and our 14th anniversary for the studio is in July. As soon as Coco leaves, then we're going to do our day retreat for our 14th anniversary. And we're doing a poolside one in August. I have my Building Emotional Intelligence workshop series with therapeutic yoga practices that I'm doing currently. I'm going to announce my fall dates for that soon. And yeah,
Cool.
Teacher
Yeah.
training, teaching classes, doing my thing.
Nice. And Coco, you and I will definitely book something while you're here. I was even thinking, Coco, like, why don't I have you lead one of our power classes? We had brunch with a group of friends last Saturday, and I was talking about you, and they're like, "Oh, is that your friend from Costa Rica?" I'm like, "Yes, that is my friend from Costa Rica. Finally coming." And I'm like, uh, "I'm probably just gonna ask you to go lead a class so everybody can meet the legendary internet social media bestie that I made during the pandemic." You know?
I would love that.
Yeah, you know
Is
what I
that a
mean?
mix?
I don't necessarily need to put you in a jockstrap and in a little harness all the time.
Well, that's cool. I actually really miss the days of teaching mixed. I love what I do now, to be
Yeah.
clear, but I really miss the days of teaching mixed classes and being around different, more diversity and being around women. And, you know, um, it's a totally different thing.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, we'll put something together that's also like men specific and maybe do a couple hours here, a couple hours there, just for a meet and greet and, also be in action with you. I think that'd be amazing, you know?
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's figure it out this week so we can
Fan-
talk about it next time.
Good, good, good. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us. And Spotify, thanks for hosting and having us as well. Aaron, thank you for setting that up. So hopefully, Coca and I will have a nice little intro for y'all next time we see each other. So until then, have a great day, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great day on your mat and off your mats.